Hey everybody, T here. Time to bring you another video, and as I said in my last one, my introduction video, this video is going to be about Hell in a Cell 2014 and the events leading into Survivor Series. As this video is recorded, Hell in a Cell was it happened a few weeks ago, but since I'm just getting this channel started, I kind of want to start there, and we'll lead into today, and it'll be real quick. I'm not going to break down every Raw after Hell in a Cell, but pretty much the current events, but I will break down the pay-per-view. So let's get right into the pay-per-view. Overall, Hell in a Cell was a very bad pay-per-view, just very bad writing. I mean, like I said, if you haven't seen my last video, check out my last video, but my first one. But man, wrestling today is just not the same, man. And I'll give some examples. So let's go ahead and let's get right into it. The first match was Cesaro versus Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. Now, by far, I think Cesaro is the best wrestler, not character, not gimmick, wrestler on that roster. He is, I mean, I don't care who you're a fan of. I mean, he's not my favorite character or anything, but I don't care. Any match you watch of Cesaro, I promise you, it's going to be a great match. It's going to be just a beautiful match. I mean, he has a different style, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of Ricky Steamboat. You know how Ricky Steamboat always seems to be in just great, fantastic matches? That's how Cesaro is. And this is what really burns me up here about this match. It was a great match against another guy that I like with Dolph Ziggler, but it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. And here it is, Dolph Ziggler beating Cesaro 2 falls to none. They didn't even give Cesaro 1 fall. Like, are you guys serious? That's just bad booking. First of all, they have not been booking Cesaro right in a long time. And, back at WrestleMania 30, I thought they were going to finally do right by him. They gave him a good push. They got him away from Zeb Coulter, which he was pretty good in that. Won the 30-man under the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I thought they were going to give him a big push, and then they give him Paul Heyman as a mouthpiece, and then all of a sudden they just dropped him. I understand, like, he's not on the main event level yet. I mean, I'm not saying that he is. There's still a lot of work to be done on Cesaro, but man, what they did, lately, if you watch Raw and SmackDown, he's going to lose every time. And not to mention, how the hell did he even get a title shot if he's keep losing every Raw and SmackDown? Like, I can't even remember the last time I saw Cesaro win. It's crazy. But anyways, they have Ziggler beat him 2 straight falls, and I'm happy they're giving Ziggler a push. He's a guy that has been needing a push for a long time too. Another great wrestler. So I'm happy they're doing something there. Next match on the card was the Bellas. I'm not going to really go into that too much, the rivalry and any of that. I mean, they pretty much did that for the Total Divas to get publicity or whatever. If you guys really want to hear about it, maybe I'll do another video talking about the Divas division, and which I will talk about a lot of the Divas division, but not really the Bellas match right now. Next one, let me see. Oh yeah, Dusty Rhodes and Cody against the Usos for the 5th damn time. But no. I have no problem with rematches. I mean, they did that. They used to do that all the time back in the 80s. Like rivalries used to last for a year, and I'm fine with that. If the matches are done correctly, it's fine. Storytelling, not a whole lot there, but it was a good match. I mean, anytime you really put the Usos against other tag team that could really wrestle, like the Rhodes, Goldust, and Cody, it's going to be a good match, and it was. It was a really decent match, and Goldust and Stardust retained their titles there. Nothing big there. What else did we have? Oh yeah, then we had Orton and Cena for #1 contendership for the world title. And before I get into the actual match of Orton and Cena for the 100th time. You know, we've seen it all, but I understand why they booked the match. They really had nothing else to really do right now with them, so they had to put them together, even though we've seen them a million times. But okay, here's what doesn't make sense. This was just bad writing by the WWE. Just really bad writing. Okay, if you remember, they had Dean Ambrose and John Cena wrestle on the match a couple weeks before that pay-per-view to see who was going to fight Seth Rollins at the pay-per-view. Okay, so they're wrestling just to see who wrestles Seth Rollins. Okay, and then the loser gets Randy Orton. So pretty much the losers of the match gets a title match? That doesn't make sense. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so Cena loses to Dean Ambrose. So Dean Ambrose goes on to the main event of Hell in a Cell and wrestles Seth Rollins. And John Cena wrestles Randy Orton for #1 contendership? Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. I mean, that's a hell of a consolation prize. So you're telling me a match with Seth Rollins means more than the WWE title? I mean, boy, that's really diminishing your damn belt, man. I mean, that's just, I'm sorry, that's bad writing. Anyways, obviously, John Cena beats Randy Orton. The setup, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar 3, which I have no problems with seeing that match. It makes sense with the rivalry right now. It's fine. Whatever, and I'll do another video talking about John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and what I think about Brock Lesnar being a part-time champion. Next match on the card. This was just for funny, laughing purposes. Just little. I mean, if you like the PG era and the little kid shit that they do, you'll like this. Sheamus versus The Miz. And of course, Miz's sidekick, Damien Sandow, or Mizdow as they call him. It was a funny match. I mean, you had, of course, Sheamus just kicking the ass of The Miz, and well, what's funny is you had Damien Sandow on the apron outside, and he's mimicking everything The Miz is doing. And now, I mean, he's been doing that on the Raws, and if you've been seeing that, you've been seeing that on Raw now. Like, so every time he gets hit, he'll be hit too, and it's just really funny. And every time The Miz does something offensive, Mizdow will do the same thing. He'll do offensive. You know, it's there. I like what they're doing here, and here's why. It's funny and it's joking, but here's what I think they're doing with this. Damien Sandow, I almost called him Mizdow again, but Damien Sandow has always been a good wrestler. Take the gimmick away. He's always had a bad gimmick. Damien Sandow's always had a bad gimmick, but he's been a good wrestler. They never knew what to do with him. So here's what I think they're doing with this whole storyline with him and Miz. I think, you know, right now they're using him as a joke, you know, just copying the Miz, nothing else to do with him. But, you know, right now it's funny, people like it, so I think they're going to make a tag team out of it. But eventually, when that rant runs out, you know the Miz is going to turn his back on Sandow one day, and then that's going to make Sandow a babyface, and then maybe they could actually do something with him, because he's always been a good wrestler but with a bad gimmick and no real good storyline. I mean, like when he first came in, his gimmick was, oh, I'm real smart professor dude, you know, and that just didn't really jive. It was really boring. I mean, I love good heels, but it was just a boring, been done too many times. Very bad idea. So anyways, Sheamus retains the title there. And we'll get into Sheamus, because as you know, in today's events, you'll know that Sheamus is no longer the United States champion, and it brings me to our next match, Rusev, because if you guys know, Rusev is now the champion. That happened, I believe, a week or 2 weeks after this Hell in a Cell that I'm talking about. And after I break down the Hell in a Cell, we will be talking about the Raws. Or the events leading in the Survivor Series. So the next match here was a Rusev Big Show. Again, this is the reason why I don't give Hell in a Cell a very good grade. It's because it was very bad writing. Big Show and Rusev. Can you guys please give me something different, like as a finish? Every Rusev match you see is his opponent passing out. Okay, passing out, not tapping out, passing out. Now, I understand why they have him pass out and not tap out, you know, to keep that baby face, keep him whole, you know, like, oh, he didn't tap out to the Russian, he's a prideful American. Well, guess what? They've been doing that storyline since Rusev came in. It's like, can't these writers think of something else? So Big Show passes out with Rusev's finishing move. I forgot what it's called, the acolyte. I don't know what his finishing move is called. But Big Show passes out, doesn't give up. Mark Henry's out cheering him on, and as you know, the next night, Mark Henry betrays him. Oh my God, this thing is so generic. I called that. I knew Mark Henry was going to betray Big Show, and they should have did that on Hell in a Cell, but they did it the next night on Raw, and it was just really bad. I mean, first of all, have some guys tap out, even if they're American. I mean, back in the day, if someone passed out, it meant something. Like, oh wow, this guy didn't tap out. This guy took the pain. This is a badass motherfucker, you know? But no. Now they're doing it at every finish. I mean, that same thing happened with Swagger. Same thing happened with Mark Henry and his rivalry. And I mean, whoever he rivals with, they all just pass out. They don't tap out. I mean, it's just a generic finish. I mean, come up with something. I mean, if you wanted Mark Henry to betray Big Show, why didn't you have him, like, hit him when the referee wasn't looking with a steel chair? I mean, it would have been predictable, but at least it would have been something different in a Rusev match. When the referee wasn't looking, then, you know, Rusev putting the move on him and he's just passed out. You know, something different. Because if you knew you were going to have Mark Henry betray the Big Show the very next night, why didn't you do it on the pay-per-view and make the finishing of the match something different? I mean, it was just lazy writing, I call it. And one of the reasons why wrestling, I mean, is not great today. Like I said, I love wrestling, but man, it's just really bad booking. Paige and AJ, even though this storyline's been going on since the night after WrestleMania, I like it. You know, honestly, they're the two best women on the roster right now, in the main roster. I know there's some great talent down there in NXT, and I'll probably do a lot of videos talking about NXT and what I think about that. You know, but you know, I mean, like Ric Flair's daughter Charlotte, man, she's a great wrestler herself. I can't wait to see her come up to the main roster. But anyways, yeah, Paige and AJ. AJ wins the match. This video is already 12 minutes long here, so I'll try to hurry it up. Next, finally the main event, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Good match. Good match. I don't think it needed to start the way it did. It started with Dean Ambrose on top of the cell. It started with him on top of the cell, and then Seth Rollins coming out, and Seth Rollins didn't want to start, and then they both fall off the middle of the cage. Not on the top, on the middle. Now, those two guys are such great wrestlers. It didn't need that, right? Especially at the beginning of the match. And, I mean, the problem is, I mean, so much has been done in wrestling already. I mean, like, especially in Hell in Cells. I mean, especially if you talk about Mick Foley. I mean, Mick Foley was tossed on top of the cell and hit the announce table. And so now if you watch this, and that was in 98. Now you watch this in 2014, they're from the middle of the cell. They fall from the middle of the cell, and then they fall on the table. And I don't know. To me, it wasn't the same effect. I mean, it was still good. And if they wanted to do that, I think they maybe could have did that in the middle of the match, but not to start the match, because I think both guys are great wrestlers, and I don't think the match needed that right away. But overall, I mean, it was a decent match. I'm not gonna talk crap about it. I mean, it was an okay wrestling match for a main event. And then the ending, of course, the return of Bray Wyatt. I love Bray Wyatt. You know, he'll probably be the first guy I do a superstar profile on. I love Bray Wyatt. He reminds me of so many type of wrestlers in the past, but he's his own guy, you know. He reminds me a little bit of Jake the Snake Roberts, between The Undertaker and maybe a few other guys, but he's his own, you know. And they had this weird little video package in the smoke or whatever, and then he attacks Dean Ambrose and costs Ambrose the match, and Seth Rollins wins the Hell in a Cell match. Excuse me. And then you see, then the match, the pay-per-view ends with Bray Wyatt doing his little spider crawl when he walks in the back like that. Man, I'm a lot thinner than Bray Wyatt, and then even man, that's flexibility, man. I don't know if that dude does DDP yoga or what the hell that guy does, but man, some flexibility on Bray Wyatt. Anyways, yeah. So that was Hell in a Cell. Boy, okay, I think I'm gonna make this video a little longer here. We're 15 minutes in. If you guys are still watching, let's quickly go into the storylines now going into Survivor Series. Now going into Survivor Series, we know that Brock Lesnar is probably not going to defend the title until Royal Rumble, so they need something to do with John Cena and the main storyline. So right now the main storyline is the Authority against John Cena, and it was really stupid. I mean, the Authority comes out and they tell Triple H, hey, not Triple H, I'm sorry, tells John Cena, hey, you know, why don't you come to the Authority or whatever, and they knew damn well they were going to make the match right there and then, the Authority against John Cena, and I mean, they didn't even do good to disguise that. So anyways, it's the Authority against John Cena. Then the very next week, I'm skipping a little bit. I'm trying to go through each major storyline. I'm not going to go through all the storylines. Tomorrow, I'll probably do a full review on Monday Night Raw. Tonight's the 17th, so I will watch Raw tonight, and I will shoot out a video tomorrow and let you know on a prediction on that. So anyways, going back to John Cena and the Authority, so pretty much the Authority says, okay, John Cena, pick out your team. And lately in the last few weeks, as you've seen, Ziggler is one of them, and the Authority's been going after Ziggler, giving him a hard time. And then last week on Raw, Vince McMahon came out. Thank God Vince McMahon came out. I mean, it's good to see him again. But like I said, when I mean thank God to see Vince, I know Vince is backstage in every single Raw. Vince McMahon is there at every single Raw. And you know, you guys may want to call Vince McMahon a god and a great story writer, and he is, but he's old, and he's losing his touch. And guys, don't blame Triple H, because the reason why I say don't blame Triple H, I'm sure Triple H is at fault at some things, but the reason why I say don't blame Triple H for today's product is watch NXT. Vince McMahon does not have his hands in NXT. He does not. It's all Triple H. That's his baby. And watch NXT and tell me what you guys think of NXT compared to WWE. NXT, I think, is better than WWE's Raw on a weekly basis, or TNA, man. I mean, God, if you want to see quality matches, to check out NXT like today, man, I was watching a whole shitload of that on the network for $9.99. So anyways, Vince McMahon comes out, went off topic, I'm sorry, you guys will learn I do that a little bit sometimes. So Vince McMahon comes out, tells the Authority, if you guys lose the match, to John Cena's team, you guys will cease to be the Authority. It's very a random storyline. I like it. You know, I've been reading a lot of the dirt sheets and stuff, and you know, they're saying it's to set up a storyline for WrestleMania. Like a power struggle between Vince and Triple H and Stephanie going into WrestleMania, and I see that. I see that being the start of it. You know, I don't know what's going to happen at Survivor Series. I mean, I've always liked the Survivor Series 5-on-5 tag team matches, the eliminations. Those are always fun matches to do. I'm probably going to be doing some videos soon on the Survivor Series 5-on-5 tag team matches. They're always really fun because sometimes you could get 5 guys against 1 guy. You could get all different kinds of cool scenarios. Anyways, so we learned that happened, and yeah, I think that's the setup for a future WrestleMania. Right now, the rumor is that it's going to be like Triple H against The Rock. It was supposed to be Austin last year, but I don't know if Austin's wrestling. There's rumors of Austin's wrestling, but I'm pretty sure it might be Austin or The Rock representing Vince McMahon against Triple H for control of the WWE. And it's going to, I believe, this storyline starting now at Survivor Series. Right now, like, they all came out together. I mean, Vince, Triple H, Stephanie, they came out together, all unified. And I think this is just a teaser to set up future storylines. I think I don't know how that match is going to end. I could see that 5-on-5 match ending either way. I could see the Authority winning and Vince McMahon saying something to him, or I could see John Cena winning and the Authority is no more, and Triple H and Stephanie's like, oh no, well I'm the CEO, the COO, you know, I don't care what Vince McMahon says, and Vince says, hey, you know, I'm still in control, and that starts the beef, you know, and Triple H and Stephanie just can't stand that they're not in control of the show anymore. So I could see that happening too. But anyways, that'll be all for now. So that's pretty much the main storyline going right now. I'll go into all the Sheamus no longer champion, and pretty much that's what's the main thing going on in Raw right now. And I'll let you guys know what's going on tomorrow after I watch Raw tonight. Give you guys my my review on Raw, and I'll probably do some more videos on different topics. Maybe a couple WCW ones, maybe some classic matches. But until then, hope you all have a good night.